Good morning, lovely people. It's Lilia here from Heal Scotland. And as per usual, our mission to educate, inspire and support. We have another fascinating guest with us this morning, Lorraine Faulkner. Lorraine, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. How are you?
Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, I'm good. I'm well. I'm enjoying the non-rain in Glasgow, so I'm quite happy.
I think we're all ready for some warmth and some spring, aren't we? For sure.
Yeah, even my kids were saying, when's it going to start getting warmer, or why is it not sunny this morning?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Lorraine, I know that you went on like a lot of us, I think, that are in this healing world. We've gone through all our own traumas, health-wise, etc. And once you navigate your way out the other side, you really want to help and inspire others, and also to save them the time that it took, because most of us, it takes a long time and you're fumbling in the dark a little bit. So can you start just with telling us about your own healing journey, what happened and how it manifested?
Absolutely. I think you're hit the nail on the head there. I think we've all got something, and it does, you are stumbling in the dark for such a long time. For me, my symptoms started when I was a late teenager. And this, now I know, it's actually not uncommon. You know, when you move away from home, you go to university, you're experiencing new challenges, cooking for yourself, the stress, paying for your tuition fees, whatever it is. These all things kind of build up in you. So when I was in my early 20s, that is when my symptoms seemed to just escalate. And they were ranging from joint pain, muscle aches, floaters in my eyes, acne, terrible skin, rashes, lumps in my skin. But the worst ones with mouth ulcers. I had horrific amount of mouth ulcers and cysts all over the place, internally, externally. So it was just such a random selection of symptoms that my poor doctor, I was in Leicester at the time working there, and she was like, I have no idea what's going on with you. I've moved from rheumatologist, I moved to dermatologist, I saw the eye doctor, the neuro doctor, I saw everyone, and they were like, yeah, no, this is actually not that bad. It's okay. So they were treating the individual symptoms. So I got put on a host of steroids, prednisone, colchicine, and then a host of, my friends called them horse pills because they were so effective at taking the pain away, because I had to, excuse me, constantly be on painkillers because I couldn't move. You know, I didn't have the arthritic pain in terms of, you could see the arthritic, debilitating view that you can see from arthritis, but I did have the pain from it and I couldn't move. So I had to take painkillers. So yeah, I think it's a very common story, being moved from doctor to doctor, specialist to specialist, being given medications that actually give you other symptoms later down the line, or aren't really helping. They're not really getting rid of the problem. You're just continually taking medications. And I was like, enough.
Yeah, good for you. And I think that's the thing, we can push the current problem into we can push it away, but create something further down the line. And I think that's something that a lot of people are waking up to now. And I think also that it seems a bit crazy, probably to you, but certainly to me as well, that you would ever just isolate one part of the body in terms of ENT without looking at the gut, a shoulder without looking at all the other emotional stuff that can go, it's bonkers the way we do it right now and the way it's still being done. And I don't blame anybody for that. It's just the way it's evolved. And, and now even with the Heal Scotland movement, I'm pulling in lots of different minds and skill sets, because it's actually impossible to learn everything yourself that you need to know. You need to call in other points of views and angle expertise. But primarily, it's your body is talking to you with all, and you've described a lot of symptoms that I'm sure people are listening will resonate with, but there's loads of other symptoms that you could be getting that's all coming from the same thing, which of course we know is the gut. And if you don't have any clear digestive issues, and if you don't have any bowel issues, that are debilitating, you may not understand that your gut, is still, any permeation that we have of any area of the digestive system can cause absolute havoc. And then, of course, the good old hormones. which, anybody, especially I think women, understand the flux of them has such an impact on how we feel and what we do and what we say and what we believe.
Absolutely. I'm sorry, you're breaking up a little bit there.
Oh, sorry, I don't know. I can hear you clearly. I don't know whether it's my end. It's not saying anything. So if anybody's there, can you hear us okay? Let me know, please. Yeah, so then what happened that led you to start your own?
Oh, the reception's getting a little bit. Oh, yeah, I'm glad.
Oh, Lorraine has disappeared. Is there anybody there watching this? I can see there's a few people watching. Can you let me know if you can see me, hear me? What's going on in the outer verse? Oh, there we go.
Can you hear me?
That's it.
Yeah, you got a bit robotic by the end there, but I did catch what you were saying in terms of you might not have any digestive systems such as constipation or diarrhea or bloating or cramping, but actually things like anxiety, depression, brain fog is a big one. So, people might not have any of the classic what you think are gut issues, but they do have manifested for them a little bit differently in their body that's unique to them. And obviously diet plays a huge part in that, and stress and sleep.
Yeah. So what made you eventually go, I need to look at this myself? I'm not getting success with all these, different points of view. You're still suffering all the same symptoms. So what kind of the catalyst?
Yeah. Well, I think it's the pain, isn't it? It's the pain. Even when you're taking medications, you're still intermittently having symptoms. And I knew, in my gut, I knew that something wasn't right. And I knew I wanted a more holistic approach. I even tried TCM. Like I went to the local traditional Chinese doctor and they prescribed me this host of things. And I was just very immature at the time. I just wanted to find something, but I didn't know what I was looking for. So I was trying everything. And even before my doctor, she was like, well, I think you've got something called Behçet's disease, but I'm not sure. You could have Crohn's or you could have Behçet's. And I thought, how random, how, and you're giving me these pills for something that you think I might have. So it was quite terrifying. So I just didn't like that approach. But I did have all the symptoms that ticked that you could have this. So I thought, okay. But even as a little side note, when I lived in China for 15 years, got back last year, and even the doctor in China, which it's actually a Silk Road disease because people coming from Asia, coming across to Europe, it was kind of brought over from that direction, if you like, and so that's why it's called Behçet's, after the Turkish doctor that discovered it. He said, no, you don't have Behçet's. He didn't even look at me, he didn't examine me, he didn't do anything. He said, it's so rare, you can't possibly have Behçet's. And I thought, well, if you're going to undiagnose me right now, even it took me years to get diagnosed, can you just take my name so that I can claim this on the insurance then? Because at the point in time, I couldn't claim anything on the insurance. I thought, well, okay, then I can claim you on my insurance. So I was so frustrated that this flippant comment came out. But anyway, I'm digressing. So I was just fed up. I wanted a holistic approach.
Yeah, this is the journey that everyone that's gone through the autoimmune, just let's give it that wide term, goes through. Of frustration, and then you go home, and then another few months pass, and then you try, and it's so confusing and it's so depressing as well.
It is.
Because you feel that what you're doing is not working, often because you don't understand how long sometimes you have to persevere to get the body to respond and to rebalance your ecosystem. So yes, carry on. So tell me where you went.
Absolutely. Yeah. So then I was just fed up. I was fed up, and I just wanted to have a root cause approach. I was like, okay, something's causing this. So then I just educated myself. So I studied to become a health coach. So I did this 1-year course, which is great. It was really good. I studied through the IIN, which is the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. It's an American body. It's much more common in America to do these kind of courses, but I know it's growing here in the UK. The course was great, but it's too generalized. It covers everything. And It helped me, but it didn't really tell me what I needed to know. So then I focused more on hormonal health, because I was noticing, menstrual cycle getting a bit out of whack, moody at certain times of the month, fluctuations that were I knew shouldn't be there. But I think as women we're told that, oh yeah, it's that time of the month, you expect to feel moody, it's all common, it's all natural. Or even worse, I had a client recently, and she didn't want to go back on the pill, but we knew that the doctor was going to put her back on the pill for her cramping, like her stomach, her PMS, like, her cramping, her pain, her moodiness, because the first go-to in the toolbox for your GP is go on the pill. So I prepped her beforehand to say this, and this, but it didn't matter, because they have a 10-minute window, and that was what he knew, that was what he said. And she's like, I don't want to go on the pill, it made me feel like this. Yeah, he still said you should go on the pill, so she just walked out. But anyway, so then I focus on hormonal health, and then I went to see a functional medicine doctor. So even though I was educating myself, I still needed direction, I still needed help. And I thought the only way I can do this is to get tested, get my hormone panel tested, my gut tested, whatever it needs. I didn't know. So then I went to see her, and she was great, an Italian lady who worked in Shanghai. She's now in the States, and she did a full health history. Now, she wasn't so concerned about things that I was concerned about at the time, because my acne was terrible, awful, and my joint pain was terrible. She was like, no, we need to focus on this. So she was, after receiving my blood test, was like, no, you actually need to focus on this, because the worry with you is, Lorraine, you've got an autoimmune disease. You're very susceptible to dip down that hole and get another autoimmune disease. So she helped educate me a lot, but then I decided to narrow down to gut, because then I discovered that I had leaky gut. So not just gut dysbiosis, where you've got an imbalance of good, bad bacteria, but actually all this stuff had punctuated through my gut lining. And that's why I was getting my inflammation, my joint pain, my floaters, whatever symptoms, anxiety. And then that also has a knock-on effect for your menstrual cycle. Sleep, I wasn't producing melatonin. It wasn't kicking in at nighttime. So I was lying awake. Why am I not sleeping? So she helped me through all these things. And then I eventually was able to come off all my medications. And now I don't take any medications at all. I'm symptom free. I do take supplements as and when needed, when I feel like my body needs them. But yeah, so now I've put together all, combined with my training, combined with my experience, and combined what's working with my clients, a protocol. It's a 12-week protocol that helps them manage their symptoms so that they can be pain free, and a lot what I hear is so that people can live their life again, actually do things, even housework, even take the kids to the park, whatever it is, they can feel normal to a certain extent.
And can you tell me how that 12-week program works? Is it online? Do you have to?
Yeah, so it's online. It can be like this. It's if anyone was in Glasgow, obviously I could meet them face to face. But generally speaking, we're online. It's 12 weeks, so we work through 3 months. We get together once a week, and it's not a linear process. I've got like 3 steps, but we're not built like that. But it just helps to make it clear to potential clients what I do. So the first phase is we kill, and we're killing. So what we're doing is we are getting rid of all those harmful, bad bacteria, pathogens, things that are, you're consuming. It could be your environment, it could be any toxins, because your liver's working harder than it needs to, and it's directly linked to your gut. So we're killing. Now, the gut's very clever, so we can try and kill. Most people take probiotics. Oh, it's fine, I'll take a probiotic and it'll help. Most probiotics don't reach it to your gut because they're full of fillers, or they just can't make it through the stomach, or they actually don't really get to do an efficient job, because you really need to kill not only just the bad bugs, but you need to kill the biofilm that they create. Yeah. Now, the biofilm is that coating that happens naturally in life, like the plaque on your teeth, or when your vegetables get a little bit mushy, it's that kind of slimy coating. It's a biofilm. And if you've got an excess buildup of bad bugs, they create this biofilm. It's like a protective barrier. They're clever little buggers. So we need to pierce that. We need to get rid of that. We need to kill the bad bugs. And alongside that, we need to make sure that we're restoring and repopulating the gut with the good bugs. But obviously, we need to do these at kind of different times and tweak it slightly, and also on the individual client. And then what I also do in line with that is my third step is to maintain and sustain it, so that when you get out the protocol, you know exactly what to do should you have any symptoms. but effectively it's an elimination diet. It's an elimination diet because there's lots of diets out there for gut issues and SIBO or whatever, gastric gut, whatever type of gut issue you have. And they can help. But the best, my experience and what I did and what I'm finding with my clients, I feel the best way is an elimination diet, because then you can find specifically the diet that works for you. What are your trigger foods, what you should avoid, and then maybe later down the line, you can reintroduce these foods in moderation. But it's basically an elimination diet. But the biggest factor is, I'll be with you each step of the way. And I think that's where people need the most help. People know what to do. They know they shouldn't be eating certain foods, or they should be sleeping more than what they are, or they should be trying to manage their stress. But it's the accountability and the support that you would get throughout the protocol that I think is the most valuable.
Yeah, and I mean, it's essential for most people. Absolutely essential is the support, and as you say, the accountability. I'm meeting you again next week, and now we can, and we can discuss. And also, if you're having any kind of detox symptoms, which can vary greatly over different bodies, people think, oh, it's not working, I'm stopping because I feel worse, because they have no understanding of the Hertz reaction and of the liver, being overloaded, etc. So you can obviously talk, and that's what I do with a lot of my clients, although I tend not to work one-to-one so much just now, but that you definitely have to explain over and over again, this is part of the healing, it's part of you've got to keep going, because it can get very, very boring, I suppose, and a bit depressing, and you lose that kind of hope. Whereas, and also, I don't know if you find this as well, that we've just been totally programmed to think a pill can make you better in an amount of days. And, we know even the training I'm doing with the doctor in Canada, they're talking about Candida. You're looking at 18 months to truly get that ecosystem back. You've got to keep at it, because it's like a diet. I mean, it's just like exactly like losing weight. You stop doing the things that got you where you went to go, you're going to get what you always got. And I think that's
absolutely
even from a Scotland perspective now. It's like an hour with me, of course, I will make you feel better without a shadow of a doubt. But then that's 1 hour out of the whole week. What you do the rest of the time. So it's that time in between that we're really now is key. What are you doing? And you definitely need a guide. I think most people do. As you say, it's dead obvious. There is absolutely no healing diet that's got white sugar and white flour in it. So you can search the internet till your heart's content, looking for the diet with white sugar and white flour, but you ain't going to find it. So, I always say, just take the white shite out, and you're going to, at least you're starting. And that leads me to my next question, which is sugar and simple carbohydrate addiction. How do you manage that?
This is, it's interesting when you're just talking there as well, because a lot of my clients have said to me, Lorraine, when you get new clients come on board, you need to emphasize more. It's the fear of doing it is actually worse than the fear of actually doing it. So the fear of having to do an elimination diet, the fear of actually having to give up, if it's caffeine or, white carbs, refined carbs, dairy, gluten, hydrogenated oils, the fear, and sugar in particular. Sugar's in everything, and also our body converts the refined carbs into sugar. So actually, I think that's an eye-opener for a lot of people. It's like, okay, you're eating sugar on sugar and sugar with sweets and cookies and all the rest, but actually when you're eating pasta and rice, these are not nutritious foods. These turn into sugar in your body. So it's like an overburden of sugar. But to go back to your point, it's, I tell my clients it's not easy. You are going through an elimination phase, and that's why the accountability and the support of a coach is important, because, I get texts during the week. What will I do here? How is this? I'm feeling. I'm like, you got it. Don't worry. And so it's just having that support. But it is the fear of doing, the idea or the thought of doing it is actually worse than doing it. And after you get through a week, 2 weeks, people, you start to feel better. In fact, I had one client after 1 week, all her symptoms had gone. And she just needed help with, I need ideas for food. So, I've got my recipe bundle, and, that's what we can work on together, meal planning. And then I've got another, and then I think it was the week 8, she was gone. She was like, okay, she could have effectively left the protocol because she knew how to reintroduce foods very carefully. She knew how to listen to her body. But sugar is a big one. For some people, it's nut butter. For some people, it's coffee. For some people, it's something else. But another thing that I'm also finding is they don't want to, you get to a certain point by week like 4 or 5, you do not want to put something in there that's going to contaminate all the good hard work that you've done. And you're like, well, hang on, I'm feeling great. I've not got that brain fog anymore. I'm waking up feeling a little bit, a jump in my step. They don't want to feel how they were. And they know that if they eat these foods, that it'll make them worse again if they don't have that routine for sleep, if they don't understand stress and the gut brain connection. It's just understanding the theory behind it as well. So this is what sugar does. This is what stress does. This is what sleep does. And for instance, I just posted the other day about sleep. You can have lots and lots of different sleep issues. You might struggle to fall asleep. You might wake up in the middle of the night. You might have a 8-hour sleep, but wake up feeling knackered. There's different reasons why you might have those different sleep issues. And it could be to do with your stress. It could be to do with digestion. It could be to do with anxiety. It could be a host of reasons. So it's trying to pinpoint what you have and dealing with it and finding ways to deal with it. And I also cover how to break old habits and start new habits, because we want to make sure this protocol is sustainable. You don't need to come back to see me again, or you don't need to go into another protocol. You know what you need to do. You've got the tools in your pocket. Pull them out.
Yeah. What techniques do you use for that?
So actually there's a guy called James Clear, and he has written this amazing book on how to break old habits and start new ones. So he gets full credit for some of the material I've taken. And there's also techniques that you can use. So it's even saying things out loud and being very specific about it. It's for instance, I always, when I'm at bed in the evening, I always let me just reframe it. It's like habit stacking, and it's actually becoming more popular. I saw it on TV the other day, habit stacking. So discover the habits that you do throughout the day. It might be you get up in the morning, you flip the kettle on, and then you wait for the kettle to boil, and you've got a period of time there where you're waiting, doing nothing, and there's an opportunity to build a new habit on top of a habit that you're already doing. So for instance, when I go to bed at night, I have my sleep routine, and I don't know why I do it, but I read my book and I put the light off and I always turn over. I don't know why, but it's a habit that I've realized that I do. So when I turn over, I take that moment to go, that's when I do my gratitude. That's when I find something in the day that I'm grateful for. And over time, you start to feel great by just doing that little technique. But also, it's very important to make sure that your habits are identity based. They're from your core values. You need to have these identities ingrained in you, because if you have them outcome based and trying to make it your identity or try and reach a specific goal, it won't work. You can have a goal, but you need to have steps along the way, the process to reach that goal. So there's a whole topic around that in itself, but there is little things you can do to help support. And even saying out loud on a Monday, and be very specific when, where, and what you're going to do. So my one is every Monday to Friday, I'm going to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning, so 20 minutes earlier than my kids get up, to do targeted exercise on my biceps in the living room. So that's what I say, and I say it out loud. And then you can do the reverse. If you're wanting that dairy chocolate bar, you can say out loud, if I eat this chocolate bar, I know that it will make me have digestive issues. I know it will make me run to the toilet, or whatever it is. It could be anything that you have issues with and that you want to reach for. And if I have this, I know it'll break all the good work that I've done. It's not to say you can't ever have that again. It's just that during this time, we're taking a break from it during the elimination phase. So it's just finding little things that you can use that help support you.
Yeah, I mean, my friend Hilary, she does a lot around sugar addiction because she has that weakness to sort of overloading sugar. And it's, for her, it's she's very controlled most of the time, but when she puts herself in certain situations, which I think is probably the same as a lot of us, she finds that she can just go completely off the rails. So I think, identifying that, right, okay, that is an issue, because a lot of the time it's just awareness, isn't it? And then when you've got
absolutely.
But the other thing that I would ask is, because a lot of people, when they're in obviously, I'm big about letting go and your emotional state, and trying to make decisions from a very low vibratory state, where what's the point? You know, nothing works. I've tried everything, kind of, you know, thinking. Do people come to you in that state, or do they not?
What I'm finding is people are super interested. They really want to go on the you know, a gut health protocol. They know that's what they need to do, but they make excuses for themselves not to do it. And what I'm finding is the people that are actually coming on board are people that have reached that point of that low place where they're like, I actually can't live like this any longer. They've reached such a breaking point. So what I'm trying to encourage people to do is not get to that breaking point where you're at such a low. But I think people are like, oh, it's actually not that bad, I can deal with it. And everyone has this. And I'm older, I'm supposed to have joint pain.
Yeah.
No, you're not. No, you're not supposed to have brain fog. No, you're not supposed to be like this, unless there's another diagnosis down the line that for whatever reason. But generally speaking, 90% of the time, you're not supposed to be in any pain or discomfort. You should live to a long, healthy age without any pain. It shouldn't be accepted that the last 20, 15, 10 years of your life, you're going to be bedridden or arthritic or, you know, but I am finding that people wait until it's at their specific breaking point, and then they're like, right, okay, Lorraine, let's do it. I'm like, okay, let's do it.
I was talking about this to my friends. You know, I mean, they have it like with the AA and the Al-Anon model, how people, you know, that are living with people with addiction, and don't enable them, because it's almost like you have to get to that dark night of the soul, and then you make a choice. I'm helpless, or I'm powerful, but I just don't know how to take my power. So it's almost like sometimes you have to reach that point. And like you, I'm big into prevention. Don't wait. You know, Joe Dispenza always says that. He's like, why are you waiting for the biggest cosmic boot up the behind? Why just take action now? And even my friend Jen was saying that, you know, the guy she markets with, he'd said, look, don't try and sell prevention because nobody's really interested. But you just actually think now, I think there's a big shift in consciousness. We're seeing a lot of people getting very sick, and we're going, I don't really want that. I do not, you know, I'm absolutely with you on the whole. The dehydration is another story we've taken on. It's just, you know, too much toxicity and not enough water and nutrition usually. And obviously there's all the emotional stuff, etc. But we have a massive power to impact that and to minimize that. So I think, you know, I noticed when I ran the community, aging is just another label for dis-ease. And it's almost like, I don't know where the turning point is, but you kind of go to a point and then it's all downhill from there.
Yeah.
Just like, why on earth did we buy into that? You know, just not understanding we're committing so many daily sins against nature in all her, you know, glory, the elements. We've taken ourselves inside. We're overloaded with information. The food chain's just been destroyed. The water is not natural water. You know, it doesn't have the life in it. And clearly, if you do that long enough, the body's going to, you know, is under enormous pressure and stress. So therefore, if we reverse all of that, what do you recommend in terms of water?
Well, water is quite important, especially chlorine. What's in for the guts specifically. So, I've not got one here. We've just bought this house, so we're doing it up. So I'll be getting a reverse osmosis machine put in there, and that's what I had when I was in Asia. And in Shanghai, you couldn't. I mean, you could drink the tap water, but let's not, right? So I did invest in a reverse osmosis machine, and it was one of the best things I did. Here at the moment, I've just got a Brita filter to take out, because that's doing me and the family day to day at the moment. But yes, it's pure clean water as you can. There's obviously other things you can do, like the activated charcoal, but I would recommend a reverse osmosis. And I think there's another brand that you can have, and I can't recall. But obviously you want clear, pure water going inside you. And also what I'm finding is people think they're drinking a lot of water, but they're not. So they are finding that, for instance, if they've got bowel issues, that they're like, oh yeah, I'm drinking more than I ever did. And, you know, coffee and tea, that's included in your intake. But even with that included, I'm like, oh, you need to drink at least another 2 glasses there. Just always have something on the go that, you know, that's there available, and sip on it throughout the day.
Journal what they're eating and drinking.
Yes, now, food diary. Now, for not a lot of people love a food diary, okay? But for the elimination phase, in fact, especially for not so much the elimination, because they've got a food list. And what they need to do is, even this food list, even if it's healthy, real food, like for instance, cauliflower, some people can have horrific consequences if they eat cauliflower. They might get bloated and gas and whatever. So even though it's a safe food list, you still need to discover what your safe foods are. So I do recommend a food diary. I give them a template, or you can use your own or whatever, you write it down. But the food diary, I'm finding, is more important when we start to, you know what your baseline is. You're on the guts or the elimination diet for at least 30 days, and you need at least 30 days for that to reset. Or your symptoms have gone as low as you think they're going to go and plateaued. So for instance, you're never going to heal everything in a 12-week protocol. You're never going to heal everything. But if you get to a plateau, for instance, I've got one client who bloating was her number one issue. She's like, I'm fed up, I'm bloated constantly. So it's gone down. We are saying about 90% her bloating's gone down. There's still that 10%. By the end of the day, that it's a little bit there, but nothing like it was before. And she's been like that for 2 weeks. And I'm like, right, we've plateaued. Because for her, that was the biggest symptom, the biggest issue. You often find that that's the last one to go, or that's the last one to ease down and take its time to get out the system and to regulate itself. As you mentioned earlier about candida, I'm never going to clear someone's candida gut, but if you do this, and this is, you're on the right path, you're on the right journey, and you know what to listen for, you know what to look for. So it varies individually, but yes, absolutely a food diary, especially when you're coming into the reintroduction phase and how we reintroduce food. It's very, very, once the client does it 1 or 2 times, I let them get on with it. So I see them through the first, so you introduce a new food, you wait 3 days. And then by that point, your gut is so clean and so neutral baseline that you'll probably have an automatic response within 30 minutes to an hour. But it can be up to 3 days because we're all different. So we leave that 3 days. After 3 days, no symptoms, we try it again. And then if there's no symptoms, we can move on to the next food. If there is symptoms, we stop that food. And it's not a food group. I'm not saying bring in grains. I'm saying
no. It's one. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I think for me anyway, a food journal is essential because again, Dr. Deb, she's always saying we're not treating people, we're training them. And you're training people, and you're clearly doing that as well. You're going, here, do this, I'll support you through the 12 weeks. Now you know what to do, you can do it yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to be empowering people. There's so many people that need help, and they need to be empowered to know that they can do it themselves. We've actually turned food into this hugely controversial, confusing, overwhelming thing. It's just like, how on earth did we get here? This is crazy. And, a lot of foods that we know are healthy, like cauliflower, you just mentioned there's eggplant, for example, aubergine. That can kick people into a real reaction. Whereas if you had a completely healthy, normal gut, you wouldn't be having issues to the food that was provided by nature, on your land, in season.
Absolutely.
It just wouldn't happen. So, and that's always to people, there's 2 diets. There's the healing diet, and then there's the maintenance diet. So if you think about that, I think it's really helpful to say it's not forever.
No, it's not. And people need to know that it's not forever.
And also, I was talking to John Angus, who has got the Hebridean in Skye, and he changed his diet. He's been in catering and hotel management, etc., for decades. So you can imagine the kind of crazy eating he was doing, and then he changed his diet. And his point was, symptom-free may not be that far away. It might be a few weeks. It might be a week, like one of your clients. Very often we're thinking, it's got to be complicated, we need an expert. And it's just like, no, take that out just for a few days and then do it again and see how you feel.
Absolutely.
Why can that be so difficult?
Yeah, I think that's great. You're actually giving me ideas for my content, so I appreciate that. And what you're saying.
Why would that not be exciting? This is my whole thing with the Heal Scotland movement. Why are we not excited to heal? Excited to have clarity? Excited to have tons of energy? Excited to be pain-free? Why do we make that such a chore?
I think we just accept. I think we accept it, and I think, as you said, we think it's a bigger challenge than it actually is. but it's really not. And I think there's the problem. A lot of it is, and what I'm hearing is there's so much conflict and confusing advice. Drink coffee, don't drink coffee. Have a glass of red, don't have a glass of red. But it's like you need to find what works for you, because if you've got any inflammatory symptoms, you've got a compromised gut. There's something going on in there. You've got a compromised gut. So you now need to find yourself in a space where you understand what you can and can't have at this point in time. So if you continue that gut healing and then you take it through and only consume the foods that you can, it doesn't mean to say that later down the line you can't have that cauliflower. It's just because we're constantly changing. So it's just having the tools to understand how to manage that and reintroduce new foods and then expose your diet to more.
I think that's another really valid point. I always say this to people, maybe you're pregnant, maybe you're breastfeeding, maybe you're recovering from growing a human and feeding a human, maybe you're menopausal, maybe,
Sorry, I've lost you there for a second.
We have these different cycles within a cycle. We also, maybe you're moving house, maybe you're getting divorced, maybe you've lost your parents, maybe you're looking after parents and looking after grandkids. All of these situations, I call it the mental marathon. It's like you're running a marathon, and therefore you would eat to support that. If you're training for a physical marathon, you would know that you would have to eat to support what you're asking of the body. And, for me, essential fats is, it's just such a key one. I know I suffered a lot from, I had chronic fatigue, depression. I never had anxiety, I don't think, but that wasn't invented back in
Maybe you did.
So yeah, I had, and I had the fatigue was debilitating. And then it was, and my periods were incredibly heavy and very painful. Had to have Feminax with me. That was the way I kind of got through it. And then I discovered, I was basically dehydrated with a very poor essential fat profile, because I went through that 70s or 80s thing of high carbohydrate and no fat. And no
Fat's
meat.
bad, right?
So for me, blood group O, eating a lot of pasta and a lot of whole grain bread was a disaster on my body. And I see it with a lot of vegans, as I'm sure you do too. You're just like, you are not eating the right food for your type. And that may be you're just not eating enough vegetables, but you can clearly see the body's just not getting what it needs.
Yeah, that's interesting. You should say that about vegans, because a lot of the elimination is initially meat and veg, healthy fats, and lots of vegetables you can tolerate, and supplements to support you along the way, depending on your specific gut issue: gastric gut, stress gut, candida gut, toxic gut, leaky gut. And it all comes under the same umbrella, but there's specific targets that you can do that can supplements that can help support along the way. But it's interesting you should say that, because when I get a new client on board, we do a full health history, and we talk about, menstrual health, hormonal health, metabolism, how it's all linked. And a lot of people have not just got the gut issues, but they've got probably a menstrual thing going on there as well, or some sort of hormonal imbalance. But what I've found is, by the end of the elimination phase, or by the time they get to week 6, 7, they've all lost weight. But this is not intentional. My goal is not for my clients to lose weight. I am not calorie counting. I don't do any of that. I am not looking to lose weight. But they're still within a healthy BMI. Their brain fog is lifted, their anxiety, their depression. They're not just have they lost weight, but they're feeling healthy on it. So it's not like they're underweight, or they're feeling, oh my goodness, I'm so lethargic, I'm falling asleep, I'm dizzy. None of that, or dehydrated. They feel good on it. And also they regulate their menstrual cycle. These things happen automatically as we're healing the gut.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're not hungry. I mean, the thing is, if you're trying to fight hunger all the time, and that's where your fat comes in, it switches off that satiety.
Yes,
and
that
you
satiety.
feel, because you're just like that, right, okay, I'm not even thinking about this now, because I've already had what I need. No, listen, that's very exciting, and I can feel your passion through it, and really helping people. I would love you to come to the festival and talk about this, either of the festivals if you could, because it's, I think, meeting you, and it's, people sometimes just need inspired. You'll be there at the right time, and you're just right, okay, that's I'm going to do this. And I'm a big one now for getting groups of people together. It might be a fun thing to do, that we could do one of the challenges, and get people working in groups and supporting each other, like we did with intermittent fasting, and
Yeah, I'd be absolutely happy to help anyone do a sort of like a for Heal Scotland, some sort of gut support. But I'll see what that kind of looks like. But if they're wanting any support in that at all, we can look at doing that, no problem.
Can I ask you how much it is for the 12-week program?
Yeah, so I charge 1497, and that's for the 12-week program. And then us getting together once a week, and then you get a copy of all the modules, as well as you get constant access to me. But for Heal Scotland, I would take the price down to 1100. So yeah, that's what the price is.
That's a phenomenal deal. And can you pay it up per week?
You can pay in full, or you can do part payments on a month. So ideally for the month. So for the 4 weeks. So then it's broken into 3 separate payments, if that helps support.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you know where you're going. You know you're going to get there, and you're not, on buying this, that, and the next thing. Because I don't know if you saw John Watt, the Scottish guy that was badly injured by the vaccine. He said he reckons he spent about 40 grand on all different things trying to heal himself, and that's. I mean, I've never counted it up. But by the time you do courses and buy supplements and gadgets and, all the stuff, there's an amazing amount of stuff in there. But I mean, sometimes you're throwing a lot of your money away. So I really like
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think also just the time, people's time costs money, and they want to make sure that they're investing their time, because you spend so much time at work. You want to, when you're at home, relax and enjoy it with family and friends. It's for me, it's also the time. Just that's precious. That's something that's a huge commodity that people use as well.
Because that's really one of the reasons I stopped. Because also, it's just so many other things on right now, but people need that access, and I basically, I just can't do all of that and do all the other stuff at the moment, and that's why I want people to start working in groups and supporting each other. So what's the best way for the listeners to contact you?
I'm on the Heal Scotland. They can find me here, or Instagram, Lorraine_Faulkner_, or LinkedIn. These are the 2 platforms that I use the most, mostly Instagram. Or they can find me here.
What's your email address?
lfaulknerhealthcoach@gmail.com.
Let me just put L.
Do you want me to write it in?
You could. Can you, if you can see the.
Or Lorraine_Faulkner_.
Some people prefer email.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever's easiest.
Fantastic. Well, listen, thanks a million. I'm inspired. And it's like a brilliant 12-week program. And I would love you if you can come. I know you're busy and I know you've got kids, so it's not always possible, but great to have you there live, because we're just creating this phenomenal energy right now, and people are really showing up, really ready and to take back control of their health. It's a very exciting, but equally mental time to be on this planet.
It really is. And one thing that I have noticed coming back to the UK is, and because I was stuck in China for a long time, I couldn't get back for 4 years. And between that 4 years and then coming back last year, so from 2000 and where are we? So we came back last year, but so 4 years before that, what I'm finding is the amount of restaurants that I'm going into that are asking you allergies, intolerances, whereas this was like 4 years ago, there was nothing about this. So I know it's from they're covering themselves to make sure nothing happens to them. However, it's still a level of awareness, right? It's still a level of consciousness that this shouldn't be normal. Why are we having this discussion that I've got an allergy?
100%. It drives me insane, but I actually think a lot of people don't even realize that they can heal that. I think that's the thing. My son and I used to, I mean, this isn't really very kind, but when we get our food diaries back, we used to kill ourselves laughing at them, because it's hilarious. You're just like, oh my God. You can't even believe it. And they're lying probably about 50%.
Absolutely, especially with alcohol intake. I know you're like, okay, you've got to kind of redouble that or put a third on. But you know, so when you join on, there's a gut health questionnaire. So even if anyone wants to have a free consultation, let me know, because I've got this gut health questionnaire that helps target down specific gut issues. And one of it is write your foods in there. And when I'm reading like the pasta, you know, sweets, cakes, cookies, bread, toasts, and but a lot of people think that they're eating healthy avocado and toast. Yeah, half of that's good.
Yeah.
But you know, but
sourdough bread as well. I mean, the thing is, you know, I love sourdough bread, but it's a bit like pasta. There's so many different ways you can make it, that some will be decent, and others you might as well just buy the pan loaf out of the shop. It's
and also, if you've got histamine issues, sourdough can cause great problems. And if you've got histamine issues, that could be your problem, not necessarily specific digestive issues or gut issues. Well, it is a kind of gut issue, but it's a histamine response in your body. So it's finding, oh, actually, you've got histamine issues. This is what we need to be looking for you and your diet that we need to be looking at. So if you think having sourdough is a good alternative, it can be for some individuals, but it can actually make it worse for other individuals.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, there is absolutely no one size fits all. And that's what makes it confusing for people. You know, it's like, well, what works for me? And it's like, well, I like that idea. Just take everything out for a month and then put it in for 3 days and see yourself. Because really,
it's cheap, it's easy, and everyone can do it. The only thing I'm doing along the way is giving you the food list, the recipe bundle, and holding you accountable and giving you tips and ideas and talking you through what happens at each stage and supplements that you can take to support you, and also educating around how you should be doing this and why that's affecting you, so that you find yourself in a position, if you're there again, you're like, well, I remember that this is what happens if I'm in this stress state. This is what happens if I'm not getting a good night's rest, and how it's directly linked to your gut. So that's the idea.
I know, and it's the fact that we are so powerful but so unconscious that we're having such an impact on the body, and that's the exciting thing. It's just like waking up to what you're doing and understanding you can make these changes and really discover, because I really believe we're going to have to. I mean, our NHS is crumbling right in front of our eyes, and you know, we're going to have to learn to look after ourselves better, because the waiting lists are getting longer and bigger. People are breaking down, and it really is time for change. So, and I think, you know, we've got all this amazing, I've got a Quest9 biofeedback machine, I've got a biofield resonance, I can read all this information and tell you thousands of information that your body's holding, but it doesn't matter. What matters is, what can you do? And for most of it, what can I eat for breakfast? A lot of people now are going to 2 meals a day with intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
But give me 2 or 3 great options that I can eat through the day. That's actually what people need. And then just eat it. Just eat that.
It is. And I think people there, you know, I had one client who was like, oh my goodness, 5 weeks ago, if you told me to not eat bananas, I would have like torn your hair out and screamed at you. Whereas now she's like, I didn't even tell her anything. She just realized that bananas wasn't serving her. So, and she wasn't sure if it was causing this issue. So she just took them out. So she was like, I would never have allowed it. Because she was so like regimented. This is my way of eating. This is how I do it. And that's the great thing. You see people just evolving from a mindset, like really taking the love and the time and the care to look after their body, and not put something in there that's going to, all that hard work that you've done, all that. It's like, not even the hard work. It's I just don't want to do that anymore. I'm done doing that. I just don't want to feel like that anymore.
You're a bit like, oh, I like this feeling. I don't really want to actually put anything in the body. You feel so nice and clean. But you know, Carolyn Mays, before we finish, Carolyn Mays said she was a psychic intuitive, and she read for 10,000 people over the years. And she said, out of 10,000, one person said to her, is that all I have to do to get well? 1 out of 10,000. And you're just like, what? And it was an AIDS case, the first time she'd ever seen AIDS. And this young guy, he was just like, right, okay, no problem. And he's now a lawyer, and, you know,
it's amazing.
That's the attitude you want to have, isn't it? Instead of like, I've got to change. I'm not giving up tomatoes. I'm not giving up that. I like that.
do you know what I'm doing actually? It's I do my little cleanse, especially after Christmas and New Year. You know, you had your fasting. January is too soon for me personally, so I waited until Lent. I use Lent as my because it's always something I did when I was little. So it was something I'm like, do you know what? I'm going to use Lent. So I'm giving up alcohol and a whole list of things, and I'm sort of resetting my gut at the moment as well. So it's great. So I'm going through it with my clients at the same time, which is good.
Because I suffered from candida for years, and I didn't know that was actually the problem that's causing all my symptoms. But I also have to keep an eye on it now. If I take my eye off the ball, I can feel you're getting out of balance again. So I think that's the whole thing, isn't it? You're a work in progress, but then you can understand. For me, fatigue's a big key. I'm like, oh, you're crazy tired. Your gut is clearly needing some attention. For some people it might be the bowel movements. For other people it might be the skin. So that's the thing. It's just seeing or feeling or hearing. Right? Okay. There's I need to take some action right now. So yeah, listen, it's fab to talk to you, and I could keep you out all day. So let's have a chat soon about how we can take this forward and get this out to our brothers and sisters all over the country and get everybody's brain fog cleared, gut issues cleared, and really on that path to much greater levels of vitality.
Absolutely.
Lorraine, well done in all the brilliant work you're doing. Chat soon.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Thanks you. Bye-bye.